Joining us now is Occidental College politics professor Isaac Hale. Thank you so much for being with us. All right, we talked to you last week about this being a possibility. It looks like it's actually going to happen now. Why does the government shutdown happen in the first place? So
the government shutdown happens because Congress is required to fund the government. Now, the way this used to work back in the olden days.
1996. The olden days.
Yes, 1996.
1996 was the last time Congress funded the government through the appropriate measure. Okay. So it used to be that that Congress would fund each part of the government separately, right? Okay. But now, in this modern era of hyper-polarized politics, funding tends to happen through what are called omnibus spending bills, this giant must-pass piece of legislation that funds every part of the federal government. But oftentimes, this is such a big ask that the omnibus doesn't pass, and the government either shuts down or Congress passes what's called the continuing resolution.
And that's what we've seen a lot.
Yeah, a lot of CRs.
Yeah. So that's what I find fascinating about all this is that in the olden days, it used to be that if the government were going to shut down, I mean, people were blaming the president. Where's your leadership? You may blame the party who's at the impasse. But this is now the president is pointing fingers at the Democrats. The Democrats are pointing fingers at all the Republicans. So how do we get through this mess? And if the government shuts down, how does this actually end?
Right, so this is a bipartisan affair. If you go back to the Obama administration, you can find clips of President Trump blaming President Obama for the shutdowns happening under his watch.
Right.
This is something that happens that every president has to face now. In terms of the question of how does this end, that's anybody's guess. The Democrats have so far not indicated that they're interested in budging on health care. The Republicans haven't suggested that they're willing to cave on any of these demands. The Republicans have the votes. They could pass the spending bill unilaterally. They have control of the Senate. They have control of the House. They obviously have the White House, but they would need to change the filibuster to do so.
Interesting. Okay, and there's so many impacts here, I think, that just sounds scary for so many Americans. What's interesting to me is that President Trump and Republicans don't seem to see this as a bad thing. They're almost promoting at this point that there will be a government shutdown.
Right. So for the Republican Party, they've been campaigning for a long time on reducing the size of the federal government. And for them, the government stopping many of what they call non-essential services for some period of time is not that upsetting. And this is, I think, an asymmetry between the parties, right? The Democrats are increasingly the party of government, of a larger federal government. Republicans are the party of smaller government. And so for them, having a reduction in government expenditures, a reduction in government function, isn't as much of a problem.
So you're hearing rumors, too, that this is going to be used as a way to eliminate jobs completely in the federal government. Can that be done, and what does that look like?
Right. So yes, the administration is already directing agencies to create plans for how they would downsize in the event of a government shutdown. But it's important to note that the Trump administration has not needed a government shutdown in order to downsize agencies. Look at the Department of Education, look at USAID. They're trying to scare Democrats in some ways by saying, look, if the government shuts down, we're going to shrink all these agencies. But they've shown that they're already willing to shrink these agencies even without a shutdown.
If there is a shutdown, what are the immediate impacts? Who will be impacted?
Right. So the biggest immediate impact is that a lot of federal workers will stop getting paid. Congress will still go to work. The White House will still go to work. The post office will still run. The military will still be deployed.
Airport security will still be in place.
Exactly. But most people will stop receiving paychecks until the government resumes. They will receive automatic back pay, but they'll stop receiving paychecks.
Will they, though? Because I was reading this morning that that's something that they may be looking at changing.
Yeah, well, currently the law is they will receive back pay, but yes, that could change in the future. But the other immediate impacts are if you are doing something like trying to go to a national park, trying to go to a museum. Those will probably be shut down very rapidly after the government shuts down.
Phew. All right. Well, we will just have to wait and see. Hours away. Thank you so much.